All right, so I want to talk to you guys about how I was able to get $60,000 worth of loans and lines of credit in order to start my business, to finance some of my dreams, and to achieve the personal, financial, and time freedom that we are always looking for, right? Because that's the biggest goal. You don't want to be working for someone else for the rest of your life. And the truth is, actually, when we get deeper into the courses, you'll actually realize that you're working for yourself already. But in actuality, you have to slave your days away paying bills that are already paid for. And, with the power of credit, you can leverage the money fast to invest it into cash flow assets instead of liabilities, right? So I'm going to start back when I was doing social work. I was working for a nonprofit organization. I was actually a mindfulness coach. I was teaching children from elementary school to people who were in the 12th grade back in my city of Asbury Park that I graduated from, mindfulness, social emotional education and stuff like that. And basically what I had to do is I had to go into the real world and actually get a real job, right? The reason why was because I was in debt. I was in student loan debt. $70,000 later after 3 years of, pretty much wasting away my life at this university, or my money, my energy at this university that eventually got me in some debt. So obviously I know what I know now, but back then I didn't. And at the time I felt really responsible because some of the loans were in my parents' name. So I had to grow up. I had to make a decision on how do I figure out a solution for what I want to do. I eventually learned a vital skill of digital marketing and became a marketing manager for this $1 Million Nuts company. And, I was making $50,000 at 21 years old. It was the most money that I was ever making on paper, on the books in my entire life, right? But for some reason, like they say, like Biggie says, more money, more problems. Like the more money that you have coming in, all of a sudden, the more bills you got. So the more money that you spend. So I still felt broke. I still felt like I didn't have enough money, let alone I was spending 9 to 11 hours a day sometimes, because an hour and a half back and forth sometimes just to drive. Then 8 hours there at someone else's job. So the truth is, after a couple months of this, I got checked out. I checked out mentally. And so what I started to think about was how I can get money fast. Because at the time I was day trading. And I had spent, at that time, a good $10,000, $15,000 on education, on mentorship, on how to day trade and how to do it professionally. So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I knew I wanted to be completely autonomous with my time and money and be able to travel the world and make money from my computer. And so I binged on YouTube for the past few years trying to learn trading and stuff like that. But if anyone knows anything about day trading, they should understand that one of the biggest weaknesses of the business is not having the capital to trade. So it all goes back to me getting the money so I can get what I want and what I need to be, or where I wanted to be, excuse me. So I started to realize very quickly, I'm like, shit, how can I get a loan? How can I get this much money? How can I get credit cards or blah, 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 blah. So, I ended up reconnecting with someone who, had a funding company. And this guy was actually, I'll tell you a funny story about that later on in the course. This guy was actually the same guy who actually scammed me, but he worked on my credit for about a year. And he was organizing my profile to get me $100,000. This is what he told me. At the time, I didn't have much money to pay him out of pocket, but I did pay him for the credit repair. I paid him for the data and trade lines that I needed on my credit profile, which you guys, if this doesn't sound like English, you'll learn about this in the course when we talk about primaries and trade lines and stuff like that. But essentially, a year and a half, about a year of him focusing on my credit went from a 535 to a 750. 770 even. And during that time, I was able to not only remove all of the bullshit from my credit report, but I was able to build healthy accounts, at least $10,000 worth of primaries on my profile. Now with that, after adding the authorized users, we were able to successfully secure $60,000 worth of loans and lines of credit. With that loans and lines of credit, I was able to pay for my education, to be a bioenergetic medicine practitioner, something that is my passion, I was able to pay for education and mentorship around business development, credit repair, and stuff like that, because I knew that I wanted to do that for my community. That was a service that I knew my community needed. So I paid $5,000 for that education. And then also what I did is now I'm in an office space right now. I'm able to live on my own means. I have a variety of different businesses that I've launched, and I have assets as well. So, the beautiful thing about credit is that you can use it to invest into cash flow investments. That is the number one goal. How to turn your credit into cash, whether it's personal credit and business credit. So honestly, if you are not finding the value in your credit right now, because maybe you have a skewed perception of, oh, credit is not backed by the money that you have, which is something that our elders sometimes think, oh, because I don't have the cash, I can't spend the credit. No, credit is supposed to be used. It's not just supposed to sit there and look pretty for you. You have to make it work for you, okay? Another thing that could be holding you back is not knowing where to start. So if you have a dream and you have a vision and you want to bring something to the world, then you're going to need some money behind you. That's a fact. And if you don't have $20,000 liquid, or you don't have a family to rely on, then you got to figure out alternative ways to get you some money liquid. All right. And that's where credit and loans comes in at. So if any of those things are holding you back, I'm here to tell you that we are here in this course to remove those blockages so that you can really get past the mental stagnancy of what's stopping you from achieving your goals, right? It's really you just taking the action on fixing your credit. So that was a little bit about my story. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next lesson.